Hey there YouTube, this is cflfanatic. Once again, I'm giving you my picks, this time for Week 13 in the 2010 CFL season. It's about 8 o'clock on Friday night as I'm recording this, so once again I've procrastinated big time. I'm sorry about that, but in grade 12 and the workload's a lot more, so don't necessarily have quite as much time as I used to, unfortunately. But the important thing is I'm getting them up. All right. So last week I went 2-2, won the last two games. Chris Schultz went 1-3, so I jumped up another game on him. I'm really making some headway now. That takes me to 27-17, and Chris Schultz is at 22-22. So I have a 5-game lead on him. So yeah, that definitely helps. All right, I'm in a bit of a rush, so no news or anything, just week 13. All right, first up, Friday Night Football, Montreal and Winnipeg. Montreal coming off of a thrashing against Edmonton, and Winnipeg coming off of a 4-point loss to an Argo team that looked awful. So I have to give the edge to Montreal in this one. Now, keep in mind, Montreal was playing Edmonton, and Winnipeg's defense actually didn't play a bad game. Now, Winnipeg's defense really destroyed Toronto's offense, but now keep in mind, to be fair, that is Toronto's offense, and they're nowhere near Montreal's offense. So the Winnipeg defense will have a much bigger challenge this time around. Nonetheless, I think they can do well, but I have to say I'm very, very concerned about that Winnipeg offense. Chris Schultz is saying there was a lot of positives for Winnipeg in the Toronto game. I don't know about that. Defense was good, but he's going for an upset. He's picking Winnipeg. I have to disagree. I think I'm going to take Montreal, be on the safe side. All right, Saskatchewan and Hamilton. Me and my friends were thinking about going to this game, but obviously not going to happen. That's tomorrow. I have to meet with some people, blah, 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 boring life stuff. So Saskatchewan with a really exciting overtime win. Ken Miller has a chance to win the game in regulation, but instead of kicking a field goal, decides he's going to try to get the single. Kind of an odd call, and it ended up prolonging things. Calgary almost tied the game with the touchdown, but Nick Lewis slipped on the play. Oh, I couldn't believe it. All right, so Saskatchewan's offense is looking good. Their defense looked like they could use a bit of work against Calgary's offense. They need to stay away from that pass interference penalties. That was a bit of a problem. And Hamilton, coming off of a win that shouldn't have been a win, unfortunately. The officials, with a big missed call, should have negated a Hamilton touchdown. You take off 7 points from their score, and they lose by 3 to BC. So there's the first time where an official has made a missed call that has drastically affected the outcome of the game. So Saskatchewan is the better team than Hamilton, but Saskatchewan has a horrible track record on the road, especially in Hamilton. I think I'm going to have to take the Ticats to win this one. Okay, BC and Calgary. Now, I had some confidence in BC, and I think it's important to remember that Calgary is obviously a tough opponent. They're going to be coming out strong in front of their home crowd. I think this defense is going to be very fired up, because 43 points is not characteristic of Calgary's defense and Chris Jones's defense. So they're obviously going to be trying to get a little bit better. Their defense was weak against Saskatchewan. And BC, there were a lot of positives in that Hamilton game. It's important to remember that BC owned that football game for 3.5 quarters, but when you turn the ball over 5 times in the last quarter, you're never going to win football games that way. It's as plain and simple as that. So they have to stay away from the turnovers, similar problems that the Argos are having. So BC is a threat, and they're a good team. I'm expecting this one to be a bit closer than the last couple times that Calgary and BC have played in BC. But BC, I don't think will have enough to overcome Calgary's defense, which will be fired up. Calgary is looking for another win, so I'm going to have to take Calgary in this one. Okay, Edmonton and Toronto, this one in Moncton for touchdown Atlantic. So let's start with Edmonton. Ugh. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. They look so reminiscent of the Argos of last year. So I do have some sympathy for Edmonton Eskimo fans, but they did awful against Montreal. I know it's Montreal. I know they're outranked, but still, it was still pretty sad to watch. I didn't think it was going to be a close game, and it wasn't. Now, on the Argos side of the ball, the defense, fantastic. If they can play the way that they did against Winnipeg, Edmonton will be lucky to score 10 points on them, because even Winnipeg's offense was better than Edmonton's offense. I have to say that. But if Toronto's offense needs to do something. The Winnipeg game was a start. This one will be a relatively easy one for them to win, so I'm going to have to take the Argos. But after that, they really have to pick things up because they've got Saskatchewan after that. Alright, so those are my picks in case you missed them. Next week, hopefully I'll have a bit longer video, go into more detail. So I guess that's it. I'll see you next week.